All right, welcome everyone. I'm just getting us live on all the places. Say hello and where you're from while we get this opened up here. Super excited to be here with you all. All right. Welcome everyone. Let me get the chat open here on Zoom as well. And let me know where you're from, where you're tuning in from, whether you're on Facebook Live or YouTube. Love to see who's here, where you're from. It's so fun to have everyone from all around the world be here. So let's go ahead and start the recording. Welcome to day 2. We are on day 2 of this powerful expansion series. So I'm super excited. Just as a reminder, if you have missed day 1, it's totally fine to do these in any order. So stay here. You're here for a reason. I absolutely recommend going back to day 1 if you have missed it. Day 1, yesterday we talked about the intuitive awarenesses, our gifts, right? The 5 main ways we receive messages through our clairsentience, our clear feeling. Our body is a divination tool as well in terms of how we feel. It's about our clairaudience, which is our telepathic channels, our clairvoyance, which is our seeing, right? And our crown chakra, which is claircognizance, which is your knowing, right? Those aha moments. And so we all have these gifts, right? And we can all cultivate these gifts with tools and practice. I know a lot of people ask me that. I don't know if I have any gifts. I don't know, if I can learn them. You absolutely can. I've walked thousands of people through learning how to cultivate their gifts, and you absolutely can. So today we're going to move into a powerful topic, which is something that makes those gifts something usable, right? Sustainable, actionable. It's working with your spiritual support team. Sometimes when we are all in our lonesome, I think, as human beings, we're meant to be in connection with other people, and I love working with human beings as well, for sure. We're meant to be in communities. But I know that a lot of times as sensitives and empaths, we we can isolate at certain times, for sure. Sometimes we need more alone time to recharge our batteries. And sometimes that can fall into the isolation realm versus just recharging our own batteries. So one thing I love about the spiritual support team is that you're really never alone. You realize that you're never really alone, and that you always have somebody, there's always guidance and support there for you, right? Even just as a friend. They can be very, very powerful allies in many ways. So we're going to talk a bit about that. When we're left to our own demise, it's very easy to get confused about what is our intuition and what is our mind and all the analytics. So working with your spiritual support team can support you in cultivating that intuition in a way that you can trust it, so that you can take leaps of faith, right? It'll support you in, seeing and dreaming bigger for yourself, right? Because you don't have to figure it out all by yourself, right? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I never have my computers never normally do my phone calls, but I did something and it sort of synced everything. So you have to bear with that. I apologize. Okay. So, but when it comes down to your spiritual support team, is to help you make bigger leaps of faith than you normally knew was possible. They'll let you, knowing when I had my spiritual support team, I was like, wow, I can dream a bigger dream, right? I was allowed to dream a bigger dream because it wasn't just me all by my lonesome trying to figure it out A to Z, doing all the work and effort by myself, right? I learned how to leverage my intuition, leverage my gifts, leverage my spiritual support team, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And just to clarify too, and we'll talk about some discernments because that's important as well, is it's not about dependency either. This is about being sovereign in your power, sovereign in your own power, right? As a conscious creator that you are. It's more about helping you to stay in alignment and having the clarity and the support when you need it. It's about taking, not having it have to be so full of effort and all on your own, right? And so today is really learning how to work with your spiritual support team in a way that builds trust and discernment and confidence in yourself, so that you can actually have, move forward on your dreams, move forward on your path. For me, I know many of you let me know in the comments, and it's fine either way. I think I tend to work with half and half people, but a lot of times, people know they're here to be of service in the world. They feel called to an inner calling or a purpose, but might feel overwhelmed by what that looks like or how to do it or what that can be. And so just know that, Working with your spiritual support team can help in many ways. Yes, somebody asking about replays, all replays. So hit reply to any email and we can give you the link for that for sure. Absolutely. Replays will be available. We're sending them out, just FYI, we're sending out the replays to those who register. So if you're on Zoom, you're on that. If you haven't registered, I suggest officially registering because we're sending out the replays, the handouts, the meditations with just the music. If you want to do the journeys again, they'll be available for a couple of weeks. So just know that that's there. So yes, so that's just really about how you can lean into that discernment so that you can move forward on your higher path and purpose, right? Because sometimes I know that for me, when I felt this inner calling in my heart to be of service in the world, it's like when I first found out that, about conscious creation, about being, law of attraction, all these things. And back in 2008, when I had my awakening, I started learning, it's like all this consciousness started clicking. And I had been living in such cycles of codependency and unhealthy relationships and just, check to check and stress and overwhelm and single parent, single mom and, all the things, that it was a lot of work and it was hard, So when I started learning about connecting with my angels and guides and really being able to use my intuition and that I could create what I wanted to, I just wanted everybody to know you don't have to stay stuck in a situation that you don't love, right? We're meant to experience miracles every day, right? That's who we are. That's really, truly who we are. And so I know working with the spiritual support team definitely helped me increase my confidence, develop my gifts, and also not feel alone and help to navigate those bigger dreams that we have, right? That we may have otherwise been complacent to or not had the courage to go through, right? I'm scared too. I get that, right? I totally get that. I think, working on your spiritual path, the perfect paradigm of this whole thing is, in order to really fulfill and live your purpose, you have to stay doing the work within yourself. Every time you grow to a new level, your purpose work begins to evolve. Doing the deeper spiritual work to actually be seen and visible doing my purpose work, right? I was deathly afraid of public speaking, super shy, very overwhelmed and sensitive to receiving and like taking on everyone's energy. I mean, all the things. So doing the deeper work, right, is actually, to me, it got, the deepest work I've done is to do my spiritual business, right? And so it keeps us in check in that way, right? If you're really doing the work, right? There's many people doing businesses and out there that maybe aren't aligned with their spiritual path, but for those of us, like those of you here, we're being called from the inner out, like our soul's going ding, 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 ding. This is what you're here for, and it doesn't let up once you hear it. And so that is definitely, something that we have to work through. So I know that spiritual support team's invaluable for that. So that's one key point to know, is that as you grow and evolve, so does your spiritual support team, right? I know when I first awakened, I didn't even know we had spirit guides, really. You may know we had angels. I was raised in a very conservative Christian upbringing. So, we talk about angels, but they never really talked about, at least in my upbringing, that you could talk to your angels or that they would actually guide you. I mean, yes, we all have guardian angels. You hear this, but then I wasn't taught that, like how to cultivate that, right? It was always just through sending a prayer and hoping that it would be answered. And so I didn't know that, right? So as we grow and evolve, so archangels were comfortable to me. Like that was the first, and besides my grandfather who broke through my awakening, I told a little bit yesterday, the archangels were really the first ones that showed up for me. Because I think it just felt safe. I think archangels had the vibration of just wanting you to feel more peace. And I was at a point in my life where I was very just overwhelmed on all levels and so tired of repeating the drama cycles and I just felt stuck and I felt like I didn't know what to do. I was kind of at my come to Jesus moment, literally. I was like, I surrender. I can't do this. And I don't know how to do it differently. And so that's when everything really started opening up for me, was when I surrendered, right? And let go. And then the archangels were there, and they're really so much about bringing peace to humanity. And they're non-denominational. I know, so just know that any religion, no religion, the archangels are there to help you in the angelic realm. But, they came through at a really important phase for me. But then as I grew and evolved, I suddenly became more aware of ascended masters, right? Who have a little bit different wisdom to bring, right? They walked the earth at one point in time. They have that lived wisdom. They kind of remember a little bit more about what it's like to be human, right? And they can help bridge that gap, right? They have mystery school teachings and a lot of powerful wisdom from a slightly different angle and perspective. And then there's we'll talk about some other types of guides as well today. But as we grow and evolve, different types of spiritual support will come in at different times, right? It's kind of like knowing the best tool for the job. And I mean that in the most respectful way. But if you have a Phillips screwdriver and you're trying to open a flathead screw, it's not as easy. You might be able to chip it away and get it to work. But when you have the right tools in your tool belt, right, AKA spiritual support team, lovingly, are a powerful tool for us and support for us. When we really deepen that relationship and we know who to call on for what, because they all have different frequencies, and just calling on their energy, even if you're not clear about your messages yet, even if you're not totally positive that you're understanding or receiving the messages yet, just their individual presences all carry a different frequency and all have a different specialty. And so it makes it really fun to start to just know, you can call on a particular angel like Archangel Samuel, and he just brings this energy of peace, even if you don't talk to him any further than that or get the message clear. The energy embodies peace, which helps you match the frequency of peace, right? And other archangels and other spirit guides have different frequencies that help you immediately start to recalibrate, like a divine sounding board, your own frequency, even just by having their presence around, by simply inviting them. Okay. And so know that they can be helpful from the very beginning, even before you're very confident in your messages. But as you work with them, you'll get more confident. All that to say, as you continue to evolve and grow, so does your type of spiritual support that might serve you best, right? So as I grew over the years, different seasons, different reasons, right? Spirit guides, just like people, right? We have different seasons, different reasons, or maybe a lifetime. And same with our spirit guides. They come in for a different season, a different reason, or sometimes for a lifetime. And so once you start to know this and really work with it in a very conscious way, it can be so supportive, so supportive. So, yes. All right. So I'm just kind of looking, I try not to get too sidetracked. I always like to come back to the chats, but when I get too distracted, sometimes I get distracted, but I hear somebody saying, it's more that I get scared, not about my purpose work, but hearing voices. I totally get that too. We'll talk about this though, because it's really, they're going to meet you where they're going to meet you. Your loving spirit guides are always going to meet you in a way that feels safe, right, and comfortable, and in a way that works for you. So maybe it's visual signs, maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's not clairaudient yet, right? So just know that there's many, many ways. Sandalfun joined me recently for this phase. Oh, I love that, Sheila. That's so awesome. It's great to see you here too. So yeah, it's about recognizing, where you're in a new phase. And I think this is really essential. We're always growing and evolving in our own paces and timeline, but collectively we're going through a massive shift, right? Everybody's shifting, everything's changing. So it's a perfect time for us to utilize this energy right now because we're going to do a guided experience where we're going to connect, and perhaps a new guide's going to come in, right? So whether you're new to your spirit guides, this is a great foundational way to step in. And if you've been working with spirit guides a lot, it's going to be really fun to also see, well, maybe who new wants to come in, right? And so this will be powerful either way. But this is what's important to know, is as we grow and evolve, so do our spirit, who we work with, who can be best supportive for us, can grow and evolve too. So we don't want to go into autopilot, right? This is what's beautiful about continuing to open and be open and available to different types of spiritual support along the way. So, yeah, so that's one thing about that. And then, as well as your purpose work, for those of you that feel called to be of service in the world, or feel an inner calling for your soul's purpose, as your business grows and evolves, as you grow and evolve, your business grows and evolves, right? So then the type of spiritual support grows and evolves for that as well. And often, I'll have two councils of beings I work with, right? I have my personal life council, and then my purpose work business growing council, right? And they're slightly different, and there might be crossovers, and it's not like, all of these guides, just to know too, I'm just kind of letting you know what's possible and what can get really, really fun and really, really tangible in your experience, and very supportive and very effective. And if you don't know any of this and you've barely met a spirit guide at all, they're all very multifaceted as well. So they can all help you with everything. You're not going to, when you're calling, when you have an intention for something, the highest guides are going to come through for you, that are going to support you, even if you're not clear who and what they are, right, at that time. So just know that you can't really mess it up, right? Your soul's intention is the highest one there. But there's different types of support as well, right? There's support for personal healing, for just regulating your inner connection to your body, right? Being human, being a human being as spiritually aware, right? It can be sort of hard if we don't have the tools and support, especially early in the awakening journey. It can be about our soul's purpose, our work in the world. It can be about up-leveling our leadership, our visibility, or expanding spiritually into our multidimensional gifts. Right? There's so many different types of guide support. And it's not that we necessarily have to or need to or would want to really work with them all at once. It's more, and it's not even really about a label. It's more about just knowing that there's so many different types of relationships that can support you in every season. And there's a variety. And when you start to really learn this, it's super, super fun. Super fun. So as an example, just some of the guides, and we'll experience some of this later today as well. But like, the archangels, and this is just very general because again, they can all help with many different types of things. But generally, the archangel energy is just so much about one of their main core purposes is to bring you inner peace, to bring you peace, to give you hope, and to help you feel empowered living as a human being. They're wanting to bring peace and happiness and hope to happiness and joy, right? Back. But sometimes that starts with the inner peace. And this is why I think a lot of people often at their dark night of soul might start connecting with their archangels initially, right? And then there's the nature beings and animal guides, which is so fun as well, but they're more grounded and close to the earth and can support the grounding, can support the embodiment, can support you in the physical realm a bit, and the fairies, right? They're of that realm. And then there's the ascended masters, again, mystery school teachers. They've walked the earth before. They have a lot of lived wisdom, if you will, that is now ascended into very high spiritual insight that they can teach you. And then you have the dragons, the cosmic dragons, and they typically will come in for people when they're bridging from the 3D to the 5D and expanding into these higher gifts, right? The higher energy. And then we've got the galactic and star guides, which for many of you is going to feel like home. Some of you will be like, not for me, or resist. I feel like I resisted that in the beginning, but then now I'm like, I totally resonate with star guides, right? My star heritage, right? And roots. But there's galactic guides and star guides, right? Which could be from any soul family. It could be about accessing your multidimensional gifts, advanced healing, bridging to much higher consciousness, aligning to your purpose work, why you came. Because a lot of star seeds are incarnating specifically to support Earth during this shift in consciousness. So that's really, really powerful. I will come back to a couple questions in just a few minutes when I have a little break, because I see some questions popping in that are great. Okay, so that's that. So a few reasons in which or how they can help you, right? Just ways that you may or may not have thought of, or sometimes we can get into like, this is like how we work with our guides, and there's just one way or one reason, opening your mind, right, to different ways, because they're there always, which is really powerful. And that's one of the things that's very, very powerful, is just not feeling alone, right? It gave me so much peace to, like I said, know that I just wasn't alone, knowing that I was always supported. If I felt overwhelmed, or I felt like I was confused, or I felt like I wanted to take a leap of faith, but I wasn't sure what to do. It's like all of that. They can just help you know that you're not alone. I think a lot of us have a wound of feeling misunderstood, right? Or like the outcast or something like that. And so having that constant like spiritual companion feeling is really healing for the heart and for the inner child. If you had parents who maybe were not emotionally available or just had tough circumstances. I think most of us in my circle, right, in the empaths and sensitive starseed world have had relatively intense upbringings in some form or fashion, or life experiences, right? And that's by design. We chose our life before incarnation, including our family. And that was all to create the perfect storm sometimes, to be the catalyst for our higher path and purpose, and like all the healing work and our soul's ascension. So we're never victim to it. But I think at the time, as being human, especially when we're unaware, without support or awareness of this, we have that amnesia before the awakening happens, like feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Like that in and of itself is priceless, right? They've helped me so much with healing, and they can help you too. Healing patterns, healing emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? So many miracles, so many physical miracles of healing, manifesting doors of opportunity, right? Sometimes when you're riddled in stress and fear, when you want to connect with your own intuition most, sometimes we pull the wool over our eyes, right? In truth, right? In truth, we are a soul. We always have access to higher consciousness and wisdom and intuition and God and universe directly. We always have that, but we don't always feel like we do, right? Because when we get into fear, we clench down and we kind of pull the wool over our eyes, because oftentimes the higher path is going to have us go through something out of our comfort zone, right? In some ways. And so we end up unconsciously pulling the wool over our eyes. And so I think like it helps us see the miracles and the options and the doorways that maybe we wouldn't have normally seen, or we couldn't see, or we were hiding from ourselves, right? And having the courage to take action anyways. They also help you cultivate your intuition, right? We're going to do this a little bit today, and I'm going to give you that as something to practice, but it's about, cultivating through practice, because you're asking and receiving signs. That's cultivating your gifts, building your own library of symbols, creating your own spiritual support entourage, right? That's perfect for you at this phase and season. And then knowing that you can shift that up when you need to. Conscious creator, living as a powerful conscious creator. That's how we do it. That's how people have quantum shifts, collapsing timelines, like all the spiritual lingo that you hear and see out there. Really, that just means they're just aligning and they're calibrating to the next level much more quickly than seems logical, right? Because they're leveraging their intuition, they're leveraging their gifts, they're leveraging their spiritual support, and they've cultivated that trust to take leaps of faith, which take leaps bounds, right? Bounds beyond somebody who's just working with a 3D physical reality, with a lot less effort and with a lot more fun, right? And so that's where people are just having what seems to be massive transformations or upgrades in their income or their business or their personal growth in some way that just seems like it defies logic, because it does, because they're leveraging the spiritual multidimensional aspect of self. Living as a conscious creator, cultivating your business like that. This is exactly the way that I create my life, my business, and my purpose work as well, and continue to navigate changes, right? And even within my purpose work, often I'm working with my spiritual support team to download, to connect with ideas, with content, with activations, with healing work that I'm channeling for all of you. And also, they're just very fun. They're just a lot of fun. They have a sense of humor. They help you shift your energy. They help you stay in alignment throughout your waking day. Catch you when you're connecting with your spiritual support team and you really are attuned to their energy. They can snap you out of an unconscious stupor, right? When you're just thinking and ruminating and reminiscing, or poor me, or being irritated about something like you're not manifesting what you want in that moment. We're always manifesting. We're always attracting based on our vibration. But when we're in fear or something negative, we're not usually attracting what we want, or we're stalling out what we want a bit, going slower. And so the more aligned that we are with ourselves in that higher frequency, and this does not mean like the Pollyanna bypassing, pretend we're just happy all the time. It's not about being happy. Your underlying frequency is always going to be the truth teller in terms of what you attract in your life. But they can have a lot more fun, and they can catch you when you're out of it and help you get back into alignment, right? And not take life so seriously. One thing to know is that they do operate on free will of choice. Okay. They operate on free will of choice, which means they're not going to come in unless you invite them in, unless you ask them in. They're not going to help you spiritually bypass your lessons and your growth, because that's why we came. We came here to grow and learn and evolve and awaken our awareness. If our spirit team was just constantly helping us when we had no idea and didn't ask for it and didn't know, we'd stay unconscious. We would think we were lucky. We wouldn't make changes. We wouldn't grow, right? And so they won't bypass that, which is something important I'll touch on a little deeper in a moment, because I see this is where sometimes people spiritually bypass and get stuck in terms of and kind of give their power away. So we'll come back to that. But coming back to asking, right? Asking for the little things, asking for the little things every day, asking what's the quickest way to get to work, asking for where's the closest parking spot, asking for the little things, which is the shortest line, guide me in the little steps, because that cultivates, like, asking and receiving. It cultivates the intuitive line. It strengthens the communication. It strengthens your ability to recognize the vibration when your guide is there trying to catch you when you're unconscious, right? Not just in your meditation space. And so there's all these reasons why you want to do that. Some people will ask, like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to take away from somebody who needs it more. There's nothing too big or small to ask. It's all valid. There's nothing, and big or small is a human construct anyways, right? At this, when it comes to this kind of stuff. And so spirit doesn't judge things in that way, and it makes you smart, because it brings us, sometimes it's these little things that create the stress, right? So you're practicing your skill set, you're cultivating the relationship, you're recognizing it, and then when you have to take a big leap of faith that seems like illogical, like switch careers or move to another state or something major, you're like, if you haven't cultivated that, it might be difficult. Right? Because I cultivated the faith in my skill set, I was able to invest $22,000 in a business program to learn my biggest fear of public speaking, when I was afraid I wouldn't even show up for it, or more afraid that I'd have to show up for it because I put the money down when I didn't even have my mortgage payment in the bank account. But I did that because I knew it was right. I knew I was being called to my edge. I knew that I had free will of choice. but it was just going to slow down my ability to be of service, right? And I'm very glad that I did, because literally in high school, I would not do oral reports. I was able to mostly convince my teachers. I was a quiet honor student, to do my reports before or after school. I didn't join a networking group for 2 years because I had to speak my name and my business for like 1 minute, you know. It was like I was petrified. I'd forget what I was saying, and I'd freeze like a deer in headlights, and the whole thing. So to invest that money, the money, I didn't have the money. I was a single mom. It was a lot of money, $1,000 a month for 22 months. But then on top of it, the bigger fear was learning my biggest fear and then having to do it, right? But I did it because I understood that when I'm in alignment with my higher path and purpose and what my soul's and intuition's guiding me to do, that's where I'm going to take leaps of faith and have so much more joy, happiness, and abundance. And if I don't, it's going to get more and more and more uncomfortable until the rubber band stretches and we have like a redirect, right? Some people will say that they were hit over the head, the universe hit them with a 2x4. I know what you mean by that. I don't subscribe to that, because I know we created ourselves out of our own fear and limitation, but I get it, right? I get what you mean. It's a redirect. Our soul kind of said, okay, you're not doing this on your own, so I'm going to redirect you because it's going to get really uncomfortable. That dissonance of being out of alignment gets so uncomfortable. You either create some trauma that makes you have to make the change, when really, if you were honest with yourself, you notice that the little whispers started very soft and they got louder and louder and louder and louder until the bang happens, because we weren't doing it, right? And so we kind of are able to shortcut that, and that's where the quantum shifts, leaps of faith, and collapsing timelines come in, right? It just simply means taking the shortcut, leveraging your intuition, leveraging your gifts, leveraging your spirit team. And we can all do that. We can absolutely all do that. Okay, so let me just look at this question here. How do you balance love and light and going with the flow with the fact that so much harm and injustice is happening in the world right now? It feels a bit wrong not to acknowledge this and only tap into the bright, positive side when there are what ways do you navigate this? This is a tough, and it's a very real, honest question. And it's not about putting our head in the sand. I think, like, if you're in a space where you are already having trouble focusing on, like, if you're getting overcome by the negativity and the fear, I think it can be healthy to take a month, take at least a week or a month of just like a media diet, if you will. Like, sometimes you got to put the oxygen mask on first, right? When we get sucked into the fear, into the drama, into the chaos, we're not actually able to be of service or to help. We're not even very present with our kids. We're not great with our partners. We're riddled in stress. Like, we're not helping at that point. Now, I do think when the power and the money and all of that comes into the hands of the people who are awakened and who are filled with love and see that they want to make the world a better place, we get to then, take that money overflow and help charities and help people in need and do the things that we want to do with that. That's how the world is really going to shift, not by commiserating. Commiserating doesn't help anybody. Right? And I'm also simultaneously not suggesting we pull the wool over our eyes. But what I am saying is, if you can't find yourself in a vibration of being able to stay in your frequency and not have blinders to what's going on, but also not become overcome by it, then sometimes taking a little bit of a neutrality break from it can be helpful until you can build that up. Right? So it's not about ignoring it, but it's also about not allowing it to be your truth or to be your limitation or to overcome you with fear. The other thing I kind of heard within this, whether this is what you meant or not, it's important as well, as I know, like, as an example, after 2020, right? There was a lot of people struggling financially. Like, most people had everybody had some kind of something happen, right? For some, it was very different for everybody, right? But people had different things. And in some ways, people were struggling with finances or jobs or things like that. Their businesses getting shut down. And so, so then I think I would hear a lot of people, gosh, how can I be, isn't it selfish for me to be happy when there's so much pain and suffering in the world? No, because as you get to learn to be happy, as you start to heal yourself, you're actually spreading the healing ability for everyone around you to start to heal and grow. Like, it becomes a ripple effect of healing and of joy and of love, which actually elevates and supports those around you to match that vibration and vibrate up instead of us vibrate down or limit. There's always going to be starving. In our lifetime, there's likely always going to be starving people in the world. There's always going to be a level of war, probably. There's always going to be a level of power and manipulation within our governments. It doesn't mean that we're meant to live a life of suffering and punishment because of it. No, we're actually leading the new way of how to lead and live differently. But we do that through our embodied leadership, right? And so you can't feel selfish, right? In fact, it's doing a disservice if we don't allow ourselves. I had many people like, well, how can I ask for money when other people are suffering and I have more than they have? Well, because if you have an overflow of money, wouldn't it be great to write a 6-figure check to your charity of choice? Don't you think that's going to change the world? If you receive for your purpose work and your gifts and you dedicate your life and you're going to feel in alignment, inspire thousands of people, let that ripple out to their people, to their people, to their people. And then you have an overflow of abundance that you can give back, because that's what we're called to do. Right. And so knowing that somebody else's limitation is never, us having abundance is never limiting somebody else's ability to have abundance. Right. And it does not serve anybody for us to stay in suffering and punishment either, just because there is suffering in the world, because there probably always will be a level of contrast in our lifetime. It's shifting, but that is something that's always going to be there. So I think that, so it's not about ignoring it. It's about being able to be able to stay a neutral, grounded, be able to channel and transmute that anger or fear or injustice into passion that can actually inspire and make actual change from an aligned, elevated position. Because if we just match it in the judgment tug of war, who's right, who's wrong, blah, blah, that energy is contracted. That's part of the problem. That's the imbalance, right? We need to rise above that. And then we start to offer our services and our ways of being or healing or supporting the world in the way that we are called to do, which makes a huge, huge difference and impact nation, worldwide, right? For some people, it might be they feel called to with environmentalism, right? Some people might be more called to support, other homeless. Some people might be for disease, for different things, but we can't all fix it all. But what we can do is channel the things that is most near to our heart, because that's likely part of your purpose work in some way, right? The injustice at the root core cause, not the drama that's actually happening of the story, but getting to the root cause of what you're feeling. That is likely part of the magic and the power and the medicine that you have that you're meant to bring forward, which is probably why certain aspects trigger us more than others, right? Even though there's a lot of things that we could say, yeah, that's not, I wish this was different, or that's not right? We're not here to be able to fix everything, and we're not here to stay commiserating within it, but we're here to elevate and actually transmute it into a new energy, right? So I think it's important that if we can't stay connected to that, shift it into passion to be an inspired and empowered change for the world, then we're not actually contributing. So then the first thing is about oxygen mask on first, which might be turn off the news for a while, right? Focus on your own healing, your gratitude, your journaling, because that's actually going to help the world more than just getting stuck in what's actually happening. Right? Because we have to see a different world, and we create vision from a higher space than what the mess got created from. Right. So I hope that helps and makes sense. It's not easy. And I don't think it's about Pollyannaing over it, but it is important to know the difference, right? Of when we're being a part of a healing part of the change versus not. And if we're not able to stay elevated in our seeing the perspective of that, and we get sucked into it, then that's when we need to take a break and recalibrate ourselves, so that whatever we do is actually making an impactful change in the world, not contributing to the contrast. Does that make sense? So it's not, it's a huge conversation, but I saw it, I didn't read it, and I felt called to go back to it. So I guess this was an important message to share. So I hope that resonates and makes sense. Okay, so let's come back to our topic at hand. But this is all part of the topic, right? It's all part of the topic. It all works together. So I would say some things to know, right? How guidance actually works, because I think that sometimes people overlook it, right? Sometimes it can be very subtle, right? When we're in our head, if we haven't learned, this is why, like I said yesterday, meditation, learning to quiet the mind and discern the difference between your mind and your if I look at the chat, then ADD brain goes all over the place. I'll come back to the questions, I promise. When you are full in your mind, right? The analyzer and the mental body is important, but it's always there. Our intuition of our higher self and our guides is more subtle. It's more quiet, right? It can be hidden. It'll get drowned out if we don't take the time to learn how to clear that field so that we can recognize and notice the signs. Because oftentimes our guidance can be very subtle. It can be very quiet. It can be in the background. And so therefore sometimes can be either dismissed or overlooked. And so learning, that like what we spoke to yesterday, and having some kind of meditation, a routine, and some kind of practice of mindfulness, being in the present moment, right? It's another way to notice when you're not grounded or present, is if you're in the future, even too far into your day, thinking too much about all the to-do lists later, you're not present right now. Or if you're planning your vacation, sometimes that's easy to do because you're like, oh, I want to be there, right? Or worrying about some big thing, right? Or in the past, ruminating, being angry, being frustrated about something that's already happened. That's actually our powers in the present moment. And that's also when we're available to hear and recognize our guidance more of the time, right? When you get more cultivated with your gifts, you can definitely be unconscious and have the angels and guides snap you out of the stupor. One time I was driving and I was getting frustrated and I was in my head. I was like, irritated with the traffic, and Archangel Michael, he illuminated this sign at me. It was like a big old tire sign, and it said, "Get your alignment now." And I know it was for a tire sign, but it wasn't, because the whole sign illuminated. And I was like, oh, Archangel Michael's here. I'm like, what? I'm like, get out of your head, hand over the worry. What are you doing? Like, you're all over the place. Get grounded, get centered. And I was like, oh, thank you. Because I would have just created more of the day. Just like they say in the morning, you stub your toe and then it hurts and then it's this and nothing's going right. That's the trajectory of that, which on a micro, macro and micro. So on a personal level, that's what that looks like. Well, on a macro level, that's what we're seeing in the world. We don't want to add to that spiral. We need to shift the energy. We need to be the polarity of light and of love and light, not from a bypassing standpoint, but from an empowered, passionate, aligned vibration. That's going to transmute a lot of energy, right? So we got to do it for ourselves first. And when we do it for ourselves and we learn to hold that frequency, we become, that aligned beacon of light that is transmitting healing to people we don't even talk to. Just our energy field start to have a positive effect and a ripple healing effect on those around us. For sure, our family and our workspace and our immediate circle, but beyond that, to the neighborhood, to people that you walk by in the grocery store, they're getting spiritual kind of awakening activations from a person that's grounded, aligned, and connected. That's huge. That does so much more than just acknowledging a story of that's a worry in our own life or in the world stage, right? But when you feel called, they'll feel called as a part of your purpose work, perhaps to make some changes, for sure. Many will, and many are in their own way, right? But we're not all responsible to fix all of it either. That'd be impossible. Okay. Let's see. So the other thing the other thing is to notice that they will always respond to your intention and your readiness, right? They're going to meet you where you're at. So sometimes we might ask for our it's okay to, ask and hold your intentions for our higher timeline and, something that's feels outside of our reach perhaps right now. But then we got to bring it back into the relational daily 1 or 2 steps at a time. They're going to bring it back to what you're ready for. So you might be saying, I want to make $10,000 a month, but internally your vibration is saying, I'm already overwhelmed with, half the amount of clients. How could I take more? You're going to have your foot on the pedal and the brake. You might want it, but your energy is saying, I can't handle it. Right. And so then they're going to meet you with the 1 or 2 steps to help clear and heal and make steps to like build the energetic capacity, or to clear the programming of codependency, or whatever the next step is to get to that next level goal. Sometimes they won't seem aligned, but they're always going to meet you with what you're actually ready for and what you can take action on now, because that's how it's actually going to fast track you to where you're going. And they're also going to support you always with supportive, suggestive, loving action. They're not there to help, they're not going to create fear ever, right? So what they're not going to do is they're not going to take your sovereignty away. They're not going to replace your own authority and sovereignty, right? They're not going to override you. That's why you have to invite them in, because otherwise, again, it would be like a codependent thing. You just think you're lucky. We wouldn't grow and change, right? And so they're never going to take away your choice or take away your power, and they're not there to override your authority, right? And they're not going to be giving you like commands, and not going to give you fear-based things or shame-based things at all. That would be more of the ego and the mind. So just know that they're never going to judge or berate you, but they're going to empower you. They're going to be with you, whatever choice you make. And one way I can see this show up sometimes is I have seen this a lot. with people that want to join my, like as an example, one of my programs, and they're like, I'm waiting. I really want to do it. I feel really aligned, but I'm waiting for my spirit guides to tell me. They haven't given me the green light. They probably won't. They're not going to tell us what to do. A better question to ask is not yes, no type things so much with our guides, right? It's more about, like, you can ask things like, what can bring me more peace and joy? What's going to bring me in higher alignment with my higher path and purpose? And will this be in alignment? Will this be in alignment towards my higher goals? They'll help give you validations type signs for that, but they're not going to make the decision for you. Whichever way you choose, they'll support. If you choose to take the leap, then they're going to help you create the money. Likely, I've done this many times. Faith-based actions have created massive miracles for me and helped me bust through a lot of, in this case, money stories, but not just, right? Fear of being judged, fear getting out of needing my parents' approval, right? Me doing this kind of work isn't in alignment with my parents' spiritual path and my upbringing and my family. And I love my family, but they think that they don't understand. And so there's a lot of time that I had to work on not needing their approval in order to feel good or validated as a human being, or that I'm doing the right thing, or following the light, right? And so we have to be the ones leading that. They're never going to take that away. So the other thing I hear sometimes is my spirit guides aren't answering me. It's like, no, they're always there. They're always going to answer you. They're never going to abandon you. They're probably there a lot when you're in fear, actually, but it's our pulling the wool over our eyes. It's our fear, because in truth, again, we always have the connection to our higher self. We always have the connection to our guides and God and source universe. We are it. We are an extension of it, right? It's who we are. But when we have fear, we pinch it off temporarily, right? Because we're going to get it. We're going to get a guidance that's probably going to move us out of our comfort zone. Having an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, taking a leap of faith, doing something that you're afraid of. Like when I first felt called to do videos and I was totally petrified. So just know that that is important discernment to know that they're always there. Is that we out of fear might be blocking temporarily or for a long time, the guidance, but just know that they are always there. They're always going to support you, but they're not going to, it's not about us abdicating our responsibility to them, making the choices for us. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Not guides of the light, right? They're not. You get to make the decision, and then guess what? They'll support you in that. And then you're going to feel, is this really actually aligned for me, or is it not aligned for me? Right? So, yeah, that's important to know. So trusting, discernment, and bigger leaps of faith. We've touched on this a little bit. But when you set something to note, this is also sometimes where I see people get stuck. And this is why I wanted to kind of talk about it. So when you set an intention for something that you truly desire, or that's near to your heart, something that you really, truly desire, right? Or something that is like aligning to your higher path and purpose that's outside of your comfort zone. Our miracles, our joy, our purpose work, most of the time, they're outside of some aspect of our comfort zone, right? When you feel fear, that's normal, right? It's normal. Like what happens is all the misaligned fears, doubts, beliefs, woundings bubble up. That's creating a misaligned vibration that makes you not a match yet for what it is you're calling in or asking for. Whether it's something personal that you want to manifest, right? We have to feel worthy of it. And internally, we're always worthy of it, but inherently. But our inner child may not believe that, right? Have some contradiction to that. Or something like that. So there could be many different reasons and things for that. But basically, at the end of the day, you set an intention for something you don't yet have. That's either close to your heart or more than you're currently allowing yourself to receive. Misaligned things are going to pop to the surface. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. It does not mean you're that goal or that intention or that direction or that next step is misaligned. It means that it's showing you what is not aligned for what you're asking for. So now it's like, oh, she's ready for this. Okay, let's bubble up all the stuff that is the next layer of healing so she can be aware of. And that doesn't mean you get stuck here forever. Some people do, right? Or some people avoid it, or push it down, But I also see where people use it as spiritual bypassing, right? Sometimes the thing that you're called to do will feel like being misaligned. It does. It creates that contracted tension. Right? There's a subtle difference, but initially I can see where sometimes it can feel the same. Fear out of your comfort zone can initially, if you're not really attuned to recognizing these frequencies, or you haven't really gone deeper to really get underneath why you're feeling this way, right? people will say, oh, it doesn't feel good, so it must not be aligned. Actually, it's probably your fast track because it's out of your comfort zone, right? If you take a step in a direction, you're gonna start to know from neutrality, from a space of not taking action. You're gonna get more in your head, and it's hard to know which is right, which is right. This is where people stay stuck a lot, not making a decision. More and more in their head, further from their intuition, right? You take a step, doesn't matter if it's right, it doesn't matter if it's in alignment or out of alignment. Really, that first step is going to actually give you the information that you need to know, I was just stepping through my comfort zone. I actually feel better, even though that was kind of scary to do. Woo, okay, this is the right direction. Or it's going to feel more contracted, and you're going to get more signs, and you're going to feel things aren't going to be working. Like, you'll start to know, but you're not going to know from doing nothing. And people often spiritually bypass, say, I'm waiting for my guides to give me an answer, or it doesn't feel good, so that's not right, or things like this, when so much of the time is them letting their fear run their creative process, run their show, right? Run the creation of their life. And so this is important discernment that we all have to get good at kind of investigating by saying, this feels contracted. What is this? Where is this coming from? What is it rooted in? Is this actually, like, really kind of having this honest conversation? That's where the deeper transmutation type of work happens, is when we start to get to the core. Because a lot of times it's our fear pulling the wool over our own eyes, right? And we're disguising it as that. But just know that that's, just because fear is surfacing doesn't mean it's always the wrong path. Just because your discomfort doesn't always equal misalignment. Growth often feels like friction and a little tension before the clarity and before the release. Okay. And so that's something that you just have to, we're all on our own journey. So it's about practicing these things, right? It's about getting curious instead of just making the assumption. It's like, well, where is this coming from? What am I actually feeling? Where is this in my body? What is the root cause? Is this coming, is my decision coming out of fear, or is it coming out of love? Right? And those kinds of things will start to help you recognize things more. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I notice they try to contact me when I'm drifting off to sleep, but it always scares me. Well, ask them, well, you can set your intentions. Like, the reason why sometimes they come to us in our sleep, whether it's our intuition or these or ideas, like when we wake up, it's like, oh, I got it all figured out. It's because our mind is clear from the busyness. So one thing to practice is meditating and clearing your energy throughout the day and making an appointment with them during the day. Okay, not right now, guys. I'd like to talk to you in the morning at 9 o'clock. I'll be there. Then you got to show up for it, right? And then you got to clear your space and have your journal or whatever and be open for it. So it's often when we're not making the space for it in our waking day that they're trying to get through, but they haven't been able to get through. And then you recognize it when you're going to sleep because you're a little bit more relaxed, clear, and open. That's typically why that's happening. But you can also ask them to meet you another time, but then you have to show up for it, right? And then you can also, be more clear. I think addressing the fear, right? You got some fear around the spirit guide thing. So part of it is like, sometimes when we're not clear about discerning who and what we're dealing with, it can be more scary, but maybe you could ask Archangel Michael to be with you as you go to sleep and to keep the energy clear in your home and your nighttime space elevated. And then if you're having the power of bringing in a specific guide that you feel comfortable with, it might be a different guide that you feel comfortable with, whoever you feel comfortable with. Call that guide in to help you release the fears and have a comfortable night's sleep, right? But then set the time on another time of the day to actually make sure you connect with them, because that's usually why it's only happening then, right? Because their intention isn't to scare you, right? So it's kind of getting underneath what is scary, and probably because you haven't cultivated the connection or the relationship to know exactly for sure what kind of entity is this. I'm just aware there's a being. Is it friendly or not, right? It's sometimes when we don't know that can create that. So it's important to have discernment, but also you can be the one in the power to choose, right? Choose one that feels comfortable to you. Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, all have very loving, compassionate, healing energy, so whoever feels good. Okay. So that kind of brings us to clearing the fear and the mistrust. So I think what I'd like to do next, we're kind of getting to the point where I would like to move towards the activation. I'm just going to kind of glance here for a moment. Glance here. Is it possible to not be able to remove whatever is blocking me from my abilities? No. It's not. I mean, we can always, so let me answer. You said, is it possible to not be able to? So basically you can always remove any block that's affecting your abilities or anything that you want. Okay. Just know that, because the truth is it's who you truly are. So if it's rooted in fear or a block, you have the power, you can make the change, right? You have the power, you can make the change. Sometimes it might, learning help or learning tools and processes to get to where you can clear the root cause of things is what's important, right? Part of it is setting up and cultivating the meditation and clear space and practicing connecting with yourself, like we talked about and did yesterday. And then it's about getting to the root cause. What is the actual fear? Is it religious programming? Is it because you had night terrors as a kid, and the person who's afraid in the sleep, maybe you had night terrors as a kid, and you're like, I remember my parents were, there's a lot of fighting alcohol and drugs when I was young. They're totally different and sober now for many years, a long time, but at the time they were. And so there's a lot of beings, entities, and low energy. And I feel like creepy crawlies on me and monsters in the closet. And I think that, the parents will tell us it's our imagination, but I think I was feeling heavily alcohol addiction beings, it was intense, and the fighting and the drama was just bringing in low vibration, and I could recognize and feel it. And I didn't know what it was, and it scared me. And so, sometimes we can have these things in our past. And so we have to start to identify, well, what is creating a block about my gifts? Is it I'm afraid of seeing something bad in the future? Is it because I'm afraid my parents will judge me because they're, that they think that it's the devil, it's wrong? Is it because what is it, right? We have to get to the core of that. Nobody else can curse us, or curses and things like this. Some people call it curses. I understand what they mean by that, but the reality is that we can still shift those. Like, nobody has more power than us. We have the body, we have the power, with beings, with people in person, with also with spiritual beings. That's why aligned light beings will always require us to ask them and invite them for their help, because they're not going to overstep that boundary. Other lower base entities and beings might want to diddle with us. They're riding off the fear and the guilt and the shame. We clear the fear and the guilt and the shame and the programming, then they have nothing to connect with. They can try to poke and they'll get bored and they'll move on, right? But they really have no binding over us. You can always release the blocks, right? I've walked many people through my Soul Success Unleashed program. Particularly, you learn how to read, identify, and clear the blocks, and really develop the gifts. Because as you develop the gifts, you feel more empowered, for one thing. But also, as you clear the blocks and programming, your gifts become more accessible. Meanwhile, you're up-leveling your vibration through activation. So there's a multi-pillar approach, and then you're practicing them, right? So there's multi-pillar approach to really unblock your gifts, but absolutely nothing can keep you stopped if you want to do it. How do I find out the archangel and what they do? So I did talk about the archangels. We're actually going to do an experiential thing, right, in just a couple of minutes. And one of the group types that we'll bring in is archangels. But archangels in general, they're non-denominational light beings whose main purpose is to bring peace and humanity and hope to human beings. They're here to support and to help us. And so it doesn't, so just know that they're here to help you, big and small. Archangel Michael could be a great one to start with. His energy is very big. He helps to eradicate fear. He supports the dream space. He supports aligning with your path and vision and clearing the fear about taking steps towards your higher path. So Archangel Michael would be a good, like, if you're new, that's a great energy. It's also his energy is very safe feeling, because it's very, like, he brings in a lot. He can help eradicate fear and bring more courage into your energy. But it's also I don't want to say louder energy, but it's a bolder energy. It's it's a protective masculine kind of energy that is usually easily felt or experienced or recognized. So that's who I'd say you can start asking to show you signs, right? And ask how they want to help you, because they're going to work with each person individually based on what you need at the time. Okay, so now let's go to our activation. Let's go to our activation energy, which is going to be, so first I just want to take a moment to say, let's just take a deep breath too. Like, especially if you're a person, because I get this where I know, like, if you've tried to connect with your guides, or you see other people saying, oh, I got, very specific images or clear messages, and you're like, but I didn't, just no, there's no comparison to anybody else. I want you to just take a moment to just clear any past disappointment, potential disappointment about how or what message you do or don't get and how it comes, right? Clearing out any fear of being wrong, fear of, can I trust this is really true, or am I making it up? Like, just take a moment to just release those things as we move into this space, especially if you've had experiences in the past where nothing much came of it. It takes practice, right? Everybody's coming in here on a completely different part of their spiritual journey. And that's okay. There's no competition or race with anyone else. We all have different ways that we work with our gifts. And that's why we have to start just practicing and cultivating. It doesn't have to take long. I went from not even knowing that I could talk to angels or guides or anybody to fully communicating and working with my angels on a regular basis and creating miracles within less than 6 months. I think nowadays probably even much quicker, and probably started seeing results of the synchronicities and manifestations like within the same day or a week of me starting to actually ask for them. So this can build very quickly. It can build very quickly, but it does take practice, and it just takes practice. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to connect with a spiritual support guide that is meant to be here with you, helping you at this phase of your journey, and to bring you a next step. But first, I'm just going to give you an overview as we're going to go through it. We're going to start just by getting grounded and centered. And then we're going to, and that was a question on YouTube. I feel my mind is always getting in the way of the logic. How do you switch your mind off? That just takes daily practice of like different types of meditation. The meditation practice that I teach is all about embodiment. So instead of like having to like, oh, it's quiet, I'm thinking nothing. That's kind of hard for people, especially if you have a busy mind in the beginning, and not necessarily required. I teach on focusing on your grounding, focusing on connecting with the energies to help flush your field, focusing on, connecting with the higher self. So I'm giving you something to focus on that brings your attention present. That's why breath work, focusing on your breath, right? So I do teach meditation styles to help with that, but some kind of meditation, that's really what it requires, is learning to condition and quiet the mind, right? So we're going to start by just focusing on the breath, grounding and clearing our mind. And then I'm going to bring in a couple of different types of guides. Now, let this experience be yours, right? Some people might get a specific guide right away. That's not the goal in the beginning. I'm just going to want you to feel into some different energies to notice the difference, right? Because what this will do is it'll help you down the road start to recognize, oh, archangel energy, that's actually familiar. Oh, the animal guides, that's actually, I haven't felt that before. Oh, the galactic or star guides, right? So we're going to go through a couple different, just feeling like recognizing energy and just noticing, what does it feel like? What does it look like? Is there a vision, a thought, a hear? What is your experience basically through your senses? And then we'll go into seeing which one's gonna be the guide to give you a message today. And so I'll guide the rest of it from there. Okay, just so you kind of know what's going on. And just let it be what it is, right? Again, each time, and this is why I suggest registering for the series. So if my team can put the registration link maybe in YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't yet, do it, because what happens is I do send the recordings, the meditations that we do with and without music for you to listen to a few times. So that'll help you practice being centered like yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, watch yesterday too. All right. That was sort of like a prelude, but it matched what we were doing right now. So I thought I would just share that in case other people needed that question. All right. So let's take a minute to I'm going to record it separately right now. Okay. So this is a guided journey to connect with your spiritual support team and receive guidance for your next step. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a few nice, deep cleansing breaths into your body and into your heart. You might even want to rub your hands together to activate those hand chakras that are so healing. You can place it on your hand or your heart or your belly if you'd like. And just start to focus on taking some nice, deep, cleansing breaths. And on the inhale, you're going to bring in that energy of peace, of clarity. And on the exhale, just release whatever's going on in the mind or in the body. And just continue to take those nice, deep breaths, focusing on the rise and fall of your chest. You can begin to deepen and lengthen those breaths to create even more space in your field. Beautiful. And from here, you can just imagine a grounding cord. So you can imagine a tree, a beam of light, a waterfall, a crystal, anything you'd like from the base of your spine at your root chakra all the way down into the core of the earth. And as you do that, you're inviting that connection with the earth to support you. You're inviting the gravity of the earth to allow you and support you in releasing and letting go of everything that's not true to who you are, right? It could be your own emotions, it could be fear, it could be conversations, other people's energy. And so you're going to bring in energy from your higher self, so then you can start to bring forward that conscious connection with your higher self, with source directly. As you bring in that energy and wisdom from your higher self, you can exhale down your grounding cord anything that's not true to who you are. Beautiful. And from this space, we can just see, feel, or imagine with your intention that we're all sharing a beautiful healing space, sitting in a circle in the ethers together. Just creating a beautiful, safe space to connect with our spirit guides. You can set your own personal intention if you'd like. If there's something specific you'd like to release or experience, you can always set your own intentions now. My main intention is for you to get clearer connection with your spiritual support team, recognition that you can carry with you, and to really be able to connect with a guide that's going to support you on your higher path and purpose with a message today. Beautiful. Now, in a moment, I'm going to introduce a few different expressions of spiritual support, right? The energetic frequency of the collective consciousness of this spirit type. Each one carries a different quality of energy, right? You might experience it as a different texture or feeling. You might see something or feel, but you're also not required for it to be any certain way. Okay, this is all about just creating an awareness, and subtle impressions will count as well. So just be open to the curiosity of what's to come. There's nothing to force or get right. And if your mind wanders, it's fine. Just come right back to what I'm saying or your breath. The first energy I want to bring forward is the archangel energy. So in the center of the circle, just going to naturally allow that, like a portal of energy, to open up and just invite forward the angelic realm, right? Specifically the archangel realm. And sometimes I like to rub my hands together because, again, our hand chakra is also very powerful, intuitive readers, and you can just feel the energy, right? You might rub your hands and face them forward if you'd like. And just notice how you feel in your body, what you see, feel, imagine. Connecting with the energy of the archangels. For some, angel might pop through, but for now, just focus on the energy and just recognize if it feels familiar. Right? Just even feeling that energy kind of reflect onto your energy field. Does your energy begin to feel lighter, right? You might notice your ears ringing. You might feel a release or a yawn or a lightness. Is it neutral? Is it comforting? And again, is it familiar or something new? And just notice what your body recognizes, what your intuition is sharing. Beautiful. And from the next energy that we're going to move forward. Also, I think what I noticed too is, do you feel more grounded? That's an interesting question. Like, do you feel more grounded? Do you feel more relaxed? Like, how's your body feeling? Or more alert, right? Could be different for each person. And so we'll thank our archangel guides now, that consciousness, and we'll just allow it to move up out of the center of our circle, creating that neutral field of energy again. Taking another couple deep breaths. And we're going to start to call in the next energetic consciousness of our spirit guides. We're going to work with the animal energy, right? The animal guides, or the nature realm, right? They're both very grounded. And you might notice if that feels the same or different, right? Moving in like the energy of the nature beings, including our animal guides. And again, just notice, is this familiar? Sometimes in comparison to another energy is when you start to notice, right? You can notice, oh, maybe this feels a little bit more warmth or more strong, where the other one in contrast felt lighter, right? Or whatever, it doesn't have to be that. But just notice, in contrast to the archangels, does this feel any different? Does it allow you to feel more grounded? Or maybe protective in a different way? Just continue those nice deep breaths. And what's beautiful about just calling in the energy, it starts a healing, right? I noticed I was already taking a deep breath, and sometimes you might yawn or shiver or get a tear or emotional. It's like that's eliciting a healing, just being in the reflective energy of our higher vibrational spirit guides. Beautiful. And from here, we're going to thank our animal kingdom and our nature beings. We're going to have them move their energy back up and out. And again, even just the difference of having that energy leave the space. Does it feel different to you? Right? Does the space feel different now with no spirit guide? That neutral set point. And now calling forward the next energy frequency, which is going to be in the realm of higher vibrational beings, star beings, or cosmic dragon energy, those beings that are really bridging to the 5D and above realms, right, into the higher dimensional energies. And we'll invite that energy right into the center of the circle. And again, just notice how you feel, right? This frequency is often associated with our ascension, expansion, courage, right? Really kind of an expansive alignment. And again, notice, is it familiar? Is there different sensations in your body, maybe visually, clairaudience? Just tune into your body and notice how it feels in the presence of these higher vibrational beings that live more in the 5th to the 12th dimensional realms, like they're helping us bridge into these higher frequencies. And again, just give some nice deep cleansing breaths, because this can elicit a healing in and of itself. Beautiful. And we'll let that energy consciousness move itself out again to that neutral point. And now I just want you to hold your own personal intention. Have the intention of just calling forward, of those three, right? You can, maybe one of them is illuminating. We had the archangels, we had the nature beings and the animal guides, and we had the cosmic dragons and star beings. And just notice, you can invite one of them to come forward right in front of you. That's going to be the guide that's at the highest alignment and support for you today. Right? Or if there's one that you felt most comfortable with, you can choose to call that in as well. And you might see it or just feel this as a collective consciousness energy like we just experienced. Or you might see this come forward as a specific guide. Both are perfect. Either one. And just ask them, what next step do I need to know about my higher path and purpose right now? Right? You're not asking for the whole plan. But what next step can I take or do I need to know about my path or purpose right now? And then just pause, right? You might receive a word or a feeling, an image, or perhaps just a knowing or a sensation in the body. Those are a lot of the main ways that our gifts will come. Some you might have other ways, but just notice what thoughts, feelings, ideas, or visions might come. And just be open and curious. As soon as we go into, I don't know, I'm not getting anything, we're blocking it, right? Just take a breath and just open to the curiosity. And just trust that whatever's meant to come will come in its own timing, whether that's now or throughout the day. You might notice synchronicities or signs or awarenesses as you drift off to sleep or upon waking, and just trust and know that it'll come in the perfect time, in the perfect way. And if you did get a clear message, just regardless of your clarity of the message, just bring that awareness into your heart, into your awareness. No need to analyze it. Trusting it's going to unfold for you how it's meant. Feeling called to do a little clearing and activation work around clearing the fear of taking the next step, maybe clearing some fears and doubts. So I'm going to work with a different guide from each realm. So the first guide I'm going to work with, and if you'd like to receive these healings, you just say yes in your mind, and they will work with you. I always send to the higher self, and your higher self decides what to bring in. And if you just want to observe, you can do that too. So calling in Archangel Michael to work with those who'd like around clearing out any fear of taking the next step on their path. The first thing I'm noticing is he's clearing out energetic attachments to the past, right? Whether that's cords or agreements with others, that other people, other clients, other, situations, even habits that are not a part of your next chapter, right? It's kind of like unhooking from that which is keeping you where you're at, right? Kind of helping you to shift your vibration and clearing that fear about taking the next step. Right, and clearing out any of the doubt or hesitation, however it might be showing up for you. Just creating that space so that the clarity can open up. And that you can embody that courage and willingness to just take that one step. And then more will follow. Beautiful. I'm just going to thank Archangel Michael. We're going to work now with the energy of the bear. I felt very much about helping you. It's like helping you clear patterns around boundaries, right? Upholding boundaries, whether that's with people or with energy, both, right? Helping to increase your energetic boundaries, your boundaries within relationships, and to help create the space to help allow you to feel your body, your mind to feel safe as you are traversing this next step, as you're shifting and elevating into this next chapter. And they're always going to just release what you're ready to let go of, right? Sometimes there's still things that we're working on or learning through. So this is really you're working in harmony with what it is you're ready to let go of now. And of course, if you have something that pops up, you can choose to release it. Beautiful. And I'm feeling called now to bring in the fire dragon, right? The fire dragon is beautiful at both clearing away, like burning away or clearing away, transmuting fears as well, but also around the ability to release the need to control. So this is about like a lot of energy I feel clearing around the solar plexus. So you can surrender and trust. Right? So this is about allowing, surrendering, and trusting the next steps. Your intuition, yourself, your guides. And then working with you. Also, I feel like it is working in different chakras as well, but also to help you connect with your creative energy, right? Your passion, your creativity. To feel safe in that expression of your truth. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So we'll thank all of our spirit guides and taking a moment to just connect back with your body and your breath. And just start to breathe in that connection with your higher self. On the inhale, you're just breathing in and refilling your entire physical and energetic space with your higher self energy. On the exhale, if there's more releasing, you can do that. But just focus on bringing in that higher self energy and filling yourself all the way up. Beautiful. All right. So taking another nice deep breath in. And after a few more deep breaths, you might start to wiggle your toes, give your legs or your arms a little pat or a stretch. And when you feel complete, you can open your eyes. Beautiful. All right. So, how do you feel? How was that for you? I'd love to hear any comments. Did you get a message? Was there a certain awareness you had about one of the groups versus another group? How did the activation feel? Let me know in the chat. It's always fun to hear. I feel like they kind of brought in a pretty grounding and soothing, but powerful clearing, right? I'm just kind of let that be intuitively led based on the energy of the group. That was the first with the dragons. A wise water dragon came forward. Ooh, I love that, Marcy. I love that. I just created my Cosmic Dragon course, and so it was fun to dip into the different individual dragons like that. And the water dragon, so much about, it can be about emotional healing, it could be about creativity and intuition. So it makes perfect sense, right? Because they're about that intuitive, divine feminine flow and helping to heal emotions and all kinds of stuff. So that's exciting. I'm excited to see how that continues for you. Thank you. That was amazing. You're welcome, Dave. Heather, it's okay. Do it again. I would say when we send out these recordings, it's powerful. Like, I don't know if you were here for yesterday, right? But this is everyone starting in different places, right? I can see a lot of my students here that have been with me for several years, right? And probably on their path even before me that are used to these kinds of meditations. But in the beginning, all of us started somewhere. And in the beginning, I didn't feel like I got anything, but it's happening, right? Your soul is here. And even if what you gained from today was more about the insight about our conversation, then that's a win, right? But in terms of the meditation, sometimes you got to do them a few times, especially if you did go more unconscious or you did feel more emotional or you didn't get much of anything. Sometimes doing it a few times will help, but also just letting it be what it is, right? Sometimes many people, especially empaths, I find, can be very disconnected from their bodies initially. And so it can take a little bit to really slow down the mind and like be present with the sensations and things. Yes, my fire dragon reconnected first, but then I got water one too. I love it. You guys were vibing off the same field. I felt like I was connected to a butterfly with the animal guides, but with the galactic guides, I started speaking light language. Awesome, Lisa. Yeah, when they came to me is when I started my light language as well. Let's see. I can't see it. They're moving very quickly. I felt a strong connection to a leopard. Awesome. You can also look up what's the animal spirit totem of leopard. I mean, I always invite you to ask first what message, how are they here to help you? Like you can do another meditation if you got specific guides with how they're here to help you and really kind of cultivate that if you feel called. But it's also kind of fun with animal guides to look up what's the spiritual totem of a leopard. I think the site I particularly use or have liked is spirit-animals.com, but there's many of them. Just trust your intuition and then just see what the spiritual totem is, right? Same with the horse. Horse for me always feels like freedom, but it might be different there. Ooh, Pegasus. Animal gods got popping up around me, very whimsical, beautiful. Let's see. I crave to hear my guides more clearly. I'm aware of their presence at times, but I feel like I really struggle to hear them. Just keep practicing, keep inviting them, right? Keep inviting them. So that part of it is sometimes people aren't remembering to invite them, right, with the messages. And so having even just 5 minutes a day, clearing your mind, connecting with your breath, inviting your higher self in, and just asking your guides to give you a message. And then if you don't get it in the moment, sometimes we're trying too hard, right? Because that can actually create blocks, trying to figure it out, trying to do it right, or if we have an expectation of how it would be, oftentimes that's when we start to really not be there. So try to get, if you can get into the space of curiosity, just curiosity. I felt a lightness pressure, a pressure change in the room. Interesting. Oh, I felt a little bit of a tightness or a lightness here or a tightness here, right? Just all of that's information. That's how it's affecting you. And then just know too, you can start to, the one of the next steps I'll give you guys today to practice with is to do that, right? Connect with if you want to connect with yesterday's meditation to clear your energy and connect with your higher self. And then after you connect with your higher self message, connect in and just ask about your spirit guide. What message do you have for my higher path today? Or what message can you give me? And then I always ask my spirit guides to give me like clear signs I can easily understand and the confidence and courage to act on them. Because sometimes we have fear, which is where we're blocking the messages or the connection, right? Because we're like, oh gosh, what are they going to have us do? And have me do something that's out of my comfort zone or have a difficult conversation or they're going to suggest something. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's just busied mind. Sometimes it's fear from, like upbringing or whatever. Like there's many different things. But what I do know is that I've had many people that have joined my programs, and if they stick with it and they practice tools and meditation, they can connect with their guides for sure. So you're not alone in that. We all started somewhere. Archangel Michael is amazing. Yes. Oh, I saw a wolf. As soon as you called the angel guys, my ears started ringing. Awesome. So these are all just great things, because that might be different for one person than another, right? Like sometimes my eyes ring in the upper realm. Sometimes I ring with all of it. But maybe for you, it's for the angels. So you hear a ringing, it's like, oh, that's a sign, part of your symbol of library. Like, oh, are my archangels trying to give me a message, right? Or if they give you a certain symbol, let's see. I feel like my mind is always getting in the way. How do you switch off your mind? Oh, I think I answered that question earlier. Yep. So yeah, meditation, I think, is going to be the best start, because you have to learn what that frequency feels like. The analytical mind and the logic is the masculine energy, and then the intuition is more riding off the feminine energy. And we both have both and need both, but they're different frequencies of energy. And we have to be in that, instead of the doing, figuring, how do I receive this right? Or I'm not saying that's you specifically, but like when we're in that expectation of like, I got to do this right, or I'm trying to do my intuition, I'm trying to get a message, that energy starts to become masculine in orientation, or can be, right? Which is a different frequency, right? It comes in on the receptivity. It's about leaning back, being surrendered, allowing, receiving. Okay, so let's see here. So awesome, everyone. I do want to give another gift. This is fun. I'm going to give another gift, just again as a thank you for being here. All of you are amazing gifts. All of you allow me to do what I do, and all of you being here changes the energy, the questions, the activations, and everything that comes through. So today I'm going to just do this intuitively and trust the person that needs this is going to get it. And what I'm going to give you is the Archangel. It's going to be the Activate Your Clairvoyance and Channeling Abilities with Archangel Raziel. Trust your intuitive information to guide you into the highest path and purpose. So let's see who is going to be this person today. All right, Jerry Heidelberg. Congratulations, Jerry Heidelberg. So be sure to hit reply to any email and say that you are the winner of day 2 gift from the activation. And I'll be happy to have my team set you up with that. It's a video workshop, it's an activation, and it's also a journaling. And so it definitely aligns with today's topic. Yeah, I think it's always fun to do some giveaways also for you guys for showing up, because I appreciate you spending your time and your energy here. Tomorrow we have a powerful one. Tomorrow's going to be all about living as a conscious creator. It's about pulling together what we've talked about, but then aligning to your highest timeline. We have a powerful activation to help clear the path of your higher timeline, your higher path. So that's going to be one that you'll want to go to. Again, I'm going to have my team. Yes, thank you. You can share the email. But also, I noticed that if you could share the registration link, I think you shared a program link earlier when I asked for the registration. There's a registration link. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, share the registration link for the 3-day live series. If you haven't registered fully, I think it's a great thing to do. I'm going to be around going on replay. So if you listen to it again, or if you listen to the activation again, likely you're going to have deeper experiences and all of that. And so you'll want to register to get all of those, and that will send you just the meditations and also the handout. So all of you today as well, you'll notice that in the replay email, for those of you that are registered, I'm going to send a PDF, like kind of highlights from today. And then on the replay pages, the handouts are there too. There's one for day 1 and one for day 2, and we'll do one for day 3. Yes, I do have a Cosmic Dragon course, actually. I don't have that offhand, but do I need to check my email? So Jerry, I don't have your email. Well, I think the best thing to do is you email me. So hit reply to the email that you got the Zoom link from. Hit reply to any email, and then just say, I'm the winner of day 2. And then my team will reply and send it back to you. So if you can initiate that, would be good, just to make sure, because if you don't have your last name in my system, then lots of times I have multiple Jerrys with no last name, and then I won't know your email. So go ahead and just hit reply. Yeah, awesome. And then tell me how you like it. And then if you want the Cosmic Dragon, Marcy, go ahead and email me as well, because I can give you that. I didn't have that offhand. It was kind of a spontaneous add-on. That's not what I was here to mention, although people have been asking, for those of you that feel called, many of you are going to get, tomorrow, day 3, don't miss it. There's a lot of information coming there. And I know many of you are like, I want to continue doing this. I want to continue developing my gifts. I want some support. I want to be in community. And, how can I continue with you? Then just know I will be sharing a bit more over the coming days about my Soul Success Ascension Circle, because that is an ongoing support container that I give people to support their ascension and awakening journey. Teach you meditation tools, intuitive tools, and all the things. So there definitely is spaces to continue. Wow, you mentioned Archangel Raziel, and my hands started shaking. The light language started up again. Crazy. You might, yes. Well, maybe you should invite Archangel Raziel in. It sounds like he's like a yes, a stimulative energy. He's very powerful. He got like a lot of esoteric wisdom, helps to make sense of the metaphysical, helps to activate your intuition. And very good. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, bye for now. Oops, forgot about it.